Hey everyone, my name is Sean and in today's video I'm going to be deck building an Odd Eyes deck for subscriber Nate the Great. Nate the Great said he was struggling with this deck quite a bit, and so I'm going to do an in-depth deck breakdown of how to play Odd Eyes. This is going to be a part 1 of 2 videos, where tomorrow I will upload a video of me actually playing this with some commentary over the gameplay. But today, because it's a Pendulum deck and it has a very high ceiling, we're going to go into a very detailed deck profile of how to actually play this Pendulum. Now, when you're playing a Pendulum deck, you need to try and keep in mind that your deck can do so many different things. You can fusion, synchro, XYZ, link someone with a deck like this, and so you need to keep an idea of what your different lines of plays, of what your cards can do for different situations. And then when you become familiar with what your cards can do and you practice with it, it will become like second nature to you. So we've got a lot of categories to cover here, so let's get started with our Odd Eyes starter cards. The cards that start our cards in our deck, the first main card is Supreme King Dragon Dark Worm. When this card is normal or special summoned, it allows you to add Supreme King Gate 0 to your hand. And this card can also summon itself from the graveyard to the field if you have no monsters on your field. So if you can, you want to always try to use this card first and try to send it to the graveyard. If you can't, it's not a big deal, but if you can, it's always beneficial because it's a 3+. And so there are 3 ways to send it to the graveyard. We have Dragon Ravine, Dragon Shrine, and Foolish Burial. Don't worry if you can't though, it's not that important. Moving on, we have 2 copies of Duelist Alliance. Duelist Alliance basically lets you add any card with Pendulum in its name from your deck to your hand. And we're going to be using this card to add our copies of Master Pendulum, Luster Pendulum, Odd Eyes Art Pendulum, or Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon from our deck to our hand. It is a hard once per turn, and you do have to have a card in your Pendulum zone to be able to activate this card, but still, it's a good searcher. We have Sky Iris. You have to destroy a face-up card you control to add an Odd Eyes card from your deck to your hand. So obviously, add any Odd Eyes card that you want from your deck to your hand. Then we have Spiral Flame Strike, which lets you add any level 7 Odd Eyes monster from your deck, or one from your extra deck back to your hand. And so that's going to allow us to be able to add Phantom Dragon, Pendulum Dragon, and Arc Pendulum Dragon. Arc Pendulum Dragon is easily the most important Odd Eyes monster, so we're also playing 3 copies of Summoner's Art to be able to search this out as well. So if you ever draw multiple starters, use Summoner's Art to get your Arc Pendulum, then use these to get your other Odd Eyes. If you don't have that option, use this to get your Odd Eyes, because Odd Eyes Arc Pendulum Dragon is the most important one. And then we have Terraforming to search out Sky Iris, and 1 Upstart Goblin, so that our deck is smaller but you play 39 cards. Moving on. Now we have so many different types of extenders for this deck, and so we're breaking it down into different mechanics for different categories. So these are the cards that are going to help you do your Pendulum summons. In order to do a Pendulum summon, you need to have low scales and high scales, and so we have 6 low scale cards and 6 high scale cards. Our low scale cards are Phantasma Dragon, who is a scale 0, our 3 copies of Gate 0, which is a scale 0, and then our 2 copies of Persona Dragon. Our high scale cards are Art Pendulum Dragon at 3 copies and Mirage Dragon at 3 copies. Between all of these cards, you should be able to Pendulum summon any card that is level 2 to level 7 from your hand or extra deck to the field. Now, because we are in Master Rule 5, you also want to use Link monsters to help you do Pendulum summons. So if you can get a Link monster that has arrows pointed towards your field, it always helps you out a bit, because then you can summon more monsters from your extra deck. And so those Link monsters are Cross Sheep, Heretic Seal of the Heavenly Spears, that both of these point diagonally down. IP Masquerader, I believe we've actually taken her out of the deck, so no longer that card. And then we have also Predaplant, Vertic, Anaconda. Now they have different requirements. Cross Sheep takes 2 monsters with different names. Heretic Seal takes 2 dragon monsters, and Vertic Anaconda takes 2 effect monsters, but they all point diagonally down. That helps you do your Pendulum summon a little bit easier. If you can extend further, you can also make Zephyr Metaltron, who also has 3 arrows pointed down, which means you can get 3 monsters back from your extra deck. And yeah, it just helps you out a little bit. I didn't mention, but I'll mention this now. In the side deck here are all the cards that search out all of these cards. So if you ever want to go for a Pendulum summon, use any of these cards to help you get the cards, the extenders that you need to do your Pendulum summon. Now let's talk about your XYZ summon. In this deck, you're going to be able to do rank 4 XYZs and rank 7 XYZs. The level 4 monsters that you're going to be able to use are your Master Pendulum Draco Slayer monsters. So you've got 3 Master Pendulums and 1 Luster Pendulum in order to do your rank 4 summons. For your rank 7 summons, which is more important, you're going to have your 3 copies of Art Pendulum Dragon, your 2 copies of Pendulum Dragon, your 2 copies of Phantom Dragon, and your 3 copies of Gate Zero that will help you do all of that. As well as having a Link monster also helps you to... These monsters can also help you to do XZ summons as well, because the idea is that you can make a Link monster and then you can summon do a Pendulum summon to get your monsters back, so that you get more monsters to the field. So your Link monsters also help you to make XZ monsters easier. For fusion summoning, we have the following cards. We're not just using polymerization, we also have like contact fusion and effects to do fusions. So these are the ways you can do your fusion summons. In order to summon out your Duelist power, the Mighty Draco Slayer, you just have to contact fuse a Draco Slayer Pendulum monster and any other Pendulum monster. So our 3 copies of Master Pendulum and 1 copy of Luster Pendulum will help you accomplish that goal a bit easier. We can also get to our fusion deck by using Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon's effect, where when this card is sent to the graveyard, you get to special summon any Odd Eyes monster from your extra deck for free. Now, in order to do that, we need our rank 7, level 7 monsters to make this monster, and so those monsters are your Odd Eyes Art Pendulum Dragon, your Pendulum Dragon, your Phantom Dragon, and your Gate Zeros will help you all to make that monster. Last but not least, we also have Predaplant Vertic Anaconda. Predaplant Vertic Anaconda can send a fusion spell from your deck to the graveyard, pay 2,000 life points, and then you get to have that effect. And so that works to get you Odd Eyes Fusion out from your deck and sends it to the graveyard a little bit easier if you don't hard draw this card. Last but not least, sorry, the last one was not last but not least, but this is last but not least. We also have Performer Power Odd Eyes Dissolver. In the scale, as a Pendulum card, Performer Power Odd Eyes Dissolver is basically just polymerization. He lets you do a fusion summon while this card is in a scale. As a monster effect, this card allows you to do a fusion summon if you use this card as a material and you don't use polymerization, you just do a contact fusion by its effect. So this, as an Odd Eyes monster or a spellcaster monster, can help you do any fusion summon if this card is on the field. For our Synchro plays, we don't have a lot of Synchro plays, and this is kind of just like a byproduct of the way the deck is already built, but because we're playing these level 4 monsters, and one of them is a tuner, we can actually do a Synchro play. And we can Synchro summon into Ignista Prominence the Blasted Draco Slayer, which is a really nice card because it's a form of removal, and also Borrelode Savage Dragon, which is also really nice. Again, the goal here is not to really make Synchro monsters, it's just because we happen to be able to, it's there as an option. Cross Sheep also helps us do Synchro summons a little bit easier, because when a fusion monster is summoned to a zone, Cross Sheep is points to, you get a level 4 monster from your graveyard, so it helps you get your level 4s to the field, that helps you do your Synchro summons a little bit easier. Alternatively, I just wanted to say that there are other options to these cards. You don't have to play these two. If you wanted to instead and you prefer, I also recommend playing Draco Berserker the Teddy, who's also really powerful, and also Psyframe Lord Omega. But that depends on your choice and what you want to do. I might change this from deck testing. We'll see how it goes, but at the moment, I'm just going to go with these two. Now, finally, we'll get on to what cards are extenders just by their effects that just get you more cards. And this is where it's going to get a little bit complicated, but we're going to go by their effects. So the main extender in your deck, if I just change this back to card frame, your main extender is Odd Eyes Arc Pendulum Dragon. He can summon any Odd Eyes monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard if you destroy a Odd Eyes card by battle or card effect. So you combine this with Sky Iris, for example, destroy one of your own cards, and you get to summon any Odd Eyes monster. It's also a way where you can even recycle back monsters that you have in your graveyard, such as your Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon, and summon it back to your field so you can reuse its effect and get more removal and more negation. So Odd Eyes Arc Pendulum Dragon is the card you always want to see as soon as possible in every single duel, and it's very, very important. Your Luster Pendulum cards, your Master Pendulum and your Luster Pendulum cards, they have effects where if they're in your Pendulum zone, you can target one card in your Pendulum zone and destroy it. Now, it's not very, very useful, but the real reason why you just do this is maybe to destroy themselves, send them to the extra deck, and then you can Pendulum summon them back with under Link Zone so you have more monsters. Also, Luster Pendulum is a tuner, so you get your Synchro monsters there as well. Odd Eyes Mirage Dragon's Pendulum effect works as an extender, where once per turn, if a face-up Odd Eyes monster you control is destroyed by a battle or card effect, you can destroy one card in your Pendulum zone, and if you do, place one face-up Odd Eyes Pendulum monster in your extra deck in your Pendulum zone, except Odd Eyes Mirage Dragon. TLDR, you basically can swap this card for another Odd Eyes card that's in your extra deck. Persona Dragon is also quite similar to that. Once per turn during the end phase, if your opponent activated a card or effect that targeted an Odd Eyes Pendulum monster you control and no other cards, and while this card was in your Pendulum zone, you get to summon this card to your field, and if you do, place one Odd Eyes Pendulum monster from your extra deck in your Pendulum zone. TLDR, you summon this card to the field and then get one Odd Eyes card back to your Pendulum zone. So ideally, you can use these as ways to get your Pendulum Dragon always back to your field. Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon as Pendulum effect is an extender, where in the end phase, if you destroy this card, you can add one Pendulum monster with 1500 or less attack from your deck. Don't rely on it too much, there aren't many monsters you can search. You can only really search Mirage Dragon with this and Persona Dragon. It's not that good, but you know, it's a free plus if you have to use this. Odd Eyes Art Pendulum Dragon works when you destroy cards on the field. Supreme King Gate 0 can also destroy cards on the field, like Sky Iris, so it's another way to trigger your Odd Eyes Art Pendulum Dragon. If this card is on the field once per turn, you can target one other face-up card you control, destroy both it and this card, and if you do, summon one Dragon-type Fusion or Synchro monster from your extra deck, but its attack and defense becomes 0, and its effects are negated, and it cannot be used for a Synchro XYZ summon. It's just a way to trigger your monster's effect and then get a free body to the board. But yeah, and also this card is a very nice monster effect where if this card in the monster zone is destroyed by a battle or card effect, you can place it in your Pendulum zone, so it allows you to recycle your effects. Last couple of cards, we have our Phantasma Dragon. Phantasma Dragon is an extender where if it's in the Pendulum zone, you can discard one card and add one Dragon Pendulum monster from your extra deck to your hand, allowing you to recycle your cards. And then we have Pendulum Halt. This is just a bit of draw power. It isn't the easiest card to use, but it's nice and it's also searchable thanks to Duelist Alliance. If you have 3 or more face-up Pendulum monsters with different names in your extra deck, draw 2 cards. You cannot add cards from the deck to your hand for the rest of the turn after this card resolves. You also have extenders in your extra deck that can summon out other monsters for you. Let's start off with Dinosaur. Dinosaur Power, the Mighty Draco Slayer, can summon any Draco Slayer monster from your graveyard back to the field, or your hand to the field, but it cannot be used as a fusion material. Whilst Ignister can summon a Draco Slayer from your deck to the field, but it cannot be used as a synchro material. Duelist can summon any monster from your graveyard by detaching 2 cards from it. You don't really use it for that, but sometimes it can be very useful. Mecha Phantom Beast Draco Sack can summon 2 tokens to the field, which can making your link summons a little bit easier. And Hieratic Seal of the Heavenly Spears, when this card is tributed, can summon any dragon monster from your deck to the field, but it makes its attack and defense 0. Ideal monster you can search with this in your opponent's turn is summon Persona Dragon, and then Persona Dragon can use this effect because it's a quick effect during your opponent's turn. Finally, you got Zephyr Metaltron, and Zephyr Metaltron's effect is if a card this points to was special summon from the extra deck is destroyed by battle or card effect, an opponent's card effect, you can add one monster from your graveyard or one face-up Pendulum monster from your extra deck to your hand. So, those are all the other extenders for your deck that get you extra cards in different ways. Now, let's break down this deck in terms of other categories. Let's talk about your removal cards and your options for that. Your only main deck form of removal is Spiral Flame Strike, so if you don't need to search more cards, you can alternatively target one card in the field and destroy it if you control an Odd Eyes card. Your extra deck is where most of your removal is, and we can start off with Metaltron. Metaltron, if this is on the field, you can target one monster on both players' field that was special summoned from the extra deck, accept this card, and banish them both until the end phase. Nightmare Phoenix is there just to destroy spells and traps. Big Eye is here in order to detach one card material and take one card that your opponent controls. Draco Sack, contribute a token on your field to destroy a card on the field. Ignister Prominence can shuffle any card in your Pendulum zone and shuffle one card on the field back into the deck. This is a really good effect because it doesn't target and it doesn't destroy a card effect, so any really big problematic monsters, this card can really be good to get rid of. And then we've got Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon, where when this card is summoned, can return one monster in face-up attack position back to the hand, and you could just say boing, send it back to the extra deck. Defensive cards that protect your board or say negate your opponent's card effects. In your main deck you have Mirage Dragon. Mirage Dragon's effect is that while it's on the field, you can target one Odd Eyes monster you control. The first time it will be destroyed by battle or card effect this turn, it is not destroyed. You can only use this effect once per turn. Persona Dragon, its effect is once per turn, you can target one face-up monster on the field that was special summoned from the extra deck. It has its effects negated until the end of the turn. And then, perform Power Odd Eyes to Solver. This card's effect is, at the start of the damage step, if your Pendulum monster battles an opponent's monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, your monster cannot be destroyed by that battle. Other defensive cards are Vortex Dragon, who, when a spell, trap, or another monster's effect is activated, quick effect, you can shuffle the face-up Pendulum monster from your extra deck into your deck, and negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. So this is one of your main forms of negation. Duelist Power, the Mighty Draco Slayer, is a lot like Sky Iris, who should also be here. My apologies, I'm going to add Sky Iris really quickly. There it is. So Sky Iris and Draco Slayer protect your Pendulum cards from being destroyed. Both of them say cards in your Pendulum, monster cards in your monster zones and Pendulum zones cannot be destroyed by battle or your opponent's card effects. Sky Iris is a little bit different. It says your opponent cannot target them with card effects, so this protects your cards from getting destroyed if you don't want them to be. Borrowload Savage Dragon is a form of negation. You equip a link monster to it, and then equal to that monster's link rating, it can negate card effects and counters. I'm a little bit skeptical about how often, how viable this card is. It should be usable, but if this card isn't good enough, or we don't have link monsters in our graveyard in order to use this card, I'll probably swap it out for Draco Berserk with the Teddy, because it requires no further setup. But if we can use Borrowload Savage Dragon, you're damn right we're going to use this card. Next we have Abyss Dweller. Abyss Dweller can negate all, stop all effects in the graveyard from activating this turn. And then we have Absolute Dragon, which can stop an opponent's monster from attacking you by negating the attack, a la like Utopia 39, number 39. Heretic Seal of the Heavenly Spears. During your opponent's turn, if this card is in the extra monster zone, you can tribute one monster in your hand on the field and return one face-up monster on the field to the hand. Ideally, you would normally tribute this up because it's so weak and it's got 0 attack, but if you can get away with tributing a different card, go ahead. And you can tribute cards from your hand as well, so you could just return a card your opponent controls back to their hand. Pinaplant Verte Anaconda. I don't know why this isn't in here as defense, it's not. And Zephyr Metaltron isn't on defensive either, really, so don't know why that's here either. So yeah, these are the cards that you use for defensive plays. Getting on to what's 20 minutes here, that's not bad. Last section we have is our bombs, and our bombs are the cards that we use just to help us win the game faster. In your extra deck, you've got 2 copies of Phantom Dragon, and how this card works is that when this Pendulum Summon card inflicts battle damage to your opponent by attacking, there is one more card I forgot, I apologize. I'm going to quickly go and add it in. I don't know why this card isn't here as a bomb. Give me 1 second. It's the counterpart to Phantom Dragon, and that is Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon. My apologies. So, Phantom Dragon, back to this card. When this card is Pendulum Summon, if it attacks your opponent and if it's battle damage by attacking your opponent, you can inflict damage to your opponent equal to the number of Odd Eyes cards in your Pendulum Zone. So this basically, if you have 2 Odd Eyes cards in your Pendulum Zone, this could do an extra 2400 damage to your opponent as burn. This can help you win games really, really fast. Also, when this card is in your Pendulum Scale, once per turn when an attack is declared by an Odd Eyes monster, involving your face-up monster and an opponent's monster, if you have an Odd Eyes card in your other Pendulum Zone, you can make that monster you control gain 1200 attack. So this can help you really push certain monsters up to really big numbers until the end of the battle phase. Now, The main way you can summon these cards, sometimes if you can't Pendulum summon Phantom Dragon, it can be better to go for Pendulum Dragon instead. Whereas this card says, if this card battles an opponent's monster, any battle damage this card inflicts the opponent is doubled. Now, this will vary depending on what this is attacking and how much damage it does, but this can really help you also win games a lot easier. Finally, we have Phantasma Dragon. Phantasma Dragon says if you have 2 cards in your Pendulum zones and a face-up Odd Eyes Pendulum monster in your extra deck, you can special summon this card from your hand. You cannot Pendulum summon the turn you activate this effect. That's a really, really big downside, so that's why we only play 1 of this card. But during, it has a really powerful effect, so it's kind of nice and it kind of works, it's kind of a little bit worth it too. During damage calculation, if this card attacks an opponent's monster, you can make that opponent's monster lose 1000 attack for each face-up Pendulum monster in your extra deck during damage calculation only. So that could really help you just get over some really big threats. And yeah, it just helps you win the game quicker. For your extra deck, the cards that we have are as bombs are 1, Duelist are Timeless, mainly because this card has the effect where you can skip the battle phase of your next turn. Also, double the attack of 1 monster you control until the end of this turn. So, double attack on a monster that can just help you win faster. Rune Eyes Pendulum Dragon. You need an Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon and 1 spellcaster type monster. You use Dissolver to make this. And this card says, if this card was fusion summoned using a Pendulum summon monster on the field as fusion material, it is unaffected by your opponent's card effects this turn. Really nice protection. Apply the appropriate effect depending on the original level of the monster you used as fusion material that was not Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon. And if the card was level 4 or lower, this card can make up to 2 attacks on monsters during the battle phase. If the other card was level 5 or higher, this card can make up to 3 attacks on monsters during the battle phase. Now, because you have to use Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon, the other monster you're going to be using is always going to be Dissolver. So that's always going to be level 8, and because that card is always going to be level 8, you're always going to get the ability to be able to attack 3 monsters with this card. So this card cannot be affected by your opponent's card effects and can attack 3 monsters during the battle phase. It's an insane card and really, really powerful. The last one here is not as good. This is Performer Power Odd Eyes Metal Claw, and this takes 1 Odd Eyes and 1 Performer Power monster. So your main card again for this is Dissolver. Cannot be used as fusion material, whatever. If this card was fusion summoned with polymerization, it is unaffected by other card effects. That's not going to happen. When this card declares an attack, all monsters you currently control gain 3000 attack until the end of the battle phase. So just in case you really have a niche situation where you just need to pump all your monsters up a bit, say you want to get this you need a monster that's just a little bit bigger than 3000 attack, then you can optionally use this card. But I mainly only use this card when I just want to waste a monster to summon out with Supreme King Gate 0. So do not to be surprised if for some reason I take this out of the deck, but it is there as a quote-unquote bomb as an option. And so here is the whole deck profile all together. I'm going to go through the cards one last time and that will end this video. So let's put this in terms of Pendulum scale and go from there. So let's do it by level. People like things by level. Yeah, card frame will do. So we have 3 copies of level. I like it by level. Sorry, being fussy. 3 copies of Odd Eyes Mirage Dragon, 3 copies of Master Pendulum the Draco Slayer, 1 copy of Luster Pendulum the Draco Slayer, 1 copy of Supreme King Darkworm, 2 copies of Persona Dragon, 3 Odd Eyes Arc Pendulum Dragon, 2 Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon, 2 Phantom Dragon, and 3 Supreme King Gate 0, 1 Phantasma Dragon, and 1 Performer Power Odd Eyes Dissolver. 1 Dragon Ravine, 1 Dragon Shrine, 2 Duelist Alliance, 1 Foolish Burial, 1 Odd Eyes Fusion, 1 Pendulum Halt, 3 Sky Iris, 3 Spiral Flame Strike, 3 Summoner's Art, 1 Terraforming, and 1 Upstart Goblin. For the extra deck, we have 1 Vortex Dragon, 1 Dinosaur Power the Mighty Draco Slayer, 1 Odd Eyes Metal Claw, 1 Rune Eyes Pendulum Dragon, 1 Borrowload Savage, 1 Ignista, 1 Abyss Dweller, 1 Duelist, 1 Draco Sack, 1 Big Eye, 1 Odd Eyes Absolute, 1 Cross Sheep, 1 Heretic Seal, 1 Verte Anaconda, and 1 Zephyr Metal Tron. there are still many things you can tweak with this deck. There are many little cards you can swap in and out, so I wouldn't say this deck is fully complete, but I'm very, very happy with this build. I think this build is very, very strongly built, not just to pat myself on the back, but I think this deck can accomplish so much with it. I think it can do so many things, and there are still further options which you can do to swap certain cards out. So let me know how I did. Let me know what you think of this deck building. Also, I want some feedback on how this deck building style is. Is this worth going into detail like this to explain how all these cards work by their roles, or would you rather I just shut up and said, here are the cards, take it, copy and paste it, and then you can figure it out yourself? Let me know what you guys think about this video. I'm really looking forward to some feedback on this one. Little side note, I actually have made this video 4 times in different ways because I just wasn't sure what the best way to talk about this deck was, because it could just do so much. But I think I'm very happy with the way this has turned out. And yeah, I hope, Nate the Great, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope this helps you out in terms of building Odd Eyes. Maybe some gameplay tomorrow. I'll talk about how to actually play this deck and do some testing. I'm actually want to see how this deck works in action myself, so maybe I'll do some recording of that. If not, I'll just move on to another deck building video tomorrow. But otherwise, guys, thank you as always for tuning into this video, and I appreciate all the support and love that you guys give. Thank you as always. I'll see you soon. Take care.